Hi, I'm Terry Mathis, the founder and CEO of ProAct Safety. I wanted to talk to you about an idea that's been a challenge for a lot of the organizations that we consult with. A lot of people have right in their mission, vision, or value statement, all accidents are preventable. You know what? If you've got that in your mission, vision, or value statement and your workers don't believe it, you're at an impasse before you even start on your safety strategy. Now, this is kind of an interesting one. Do you believe that all accidents are preventable? I talked to some safety professionals who do, and I talked to some who don't. Now, what's the truth, and where do you go from here? Let me give you the best answer I've come up with so far, and I think this is a good way to approach this subject with the troops. Because first of all, it's not condescending and it's not taking a position particularly on either side, but really exploring the issue and helping people to understand where you're coming from. Let me go through it a little bit and let you get a feel for this and see if it's something you think you could use in your organization. Okay, first of all, I'm going to start with a story because stories are sticky, right? They help people understand, they help people put it into context, they help people flow into the subject matter a little bit better than starting with an abstract statement. So rather than just saying, are all accidents preventable or are they not? Here's the story I'd like to suggest, and you can tell your own version of the story or you can allude to mine if you'd like to. When I was 14 years old, I walked out into a park on a bright summer day. One of my favorite places to go, one of the places I like to go and hang out with my friends and do the things that 14-year-olds do and some of the things that 14-year-olds probably shouldn't do. You know how that works, right? But I'm out in the park, and today in the park there's something that's never been there before. There are 4 long tables placed in a square, and there's a funny-looking little gray-haired man standing in the middle of all these tables, and the person who's running this event in the park tells us this is a chess master. This is someone who's one of the best people in the world at playing chess, and he's visiting our town and he's doing some other things here, but today he'd like to challenge 80 of you to come and play him a game of chess. So the park's full of probably 300 or 400 people, and from that, 80 people step up. Now, my dad taught me how to play chess when I was 5, and I'd beaten him a few times, so I thought I was really good. And you know how it is when you're 14 years old, you're bulletproof, you know everything. So I step up there and I'm going to play a game with the chess master, and I'm going to see if my 2 or 3 little patterns that I use to beat my friends will have any kind of impact on him. So we're all playing a game, and this is the way it works. We all have to make our first move, and then the chess master starts making the rounds around the 80 chessboard. So we've got until he makes his round to make our next move when he comes back. I always remember this. It was the 9th move of the game. And the chess master walks up with one quick glance at my board. He looks me right in the face and he says, "You haven't made your move yet." Well, as a 14-year-old, I'm amazed at this man anyway, what he's doing and how fast he's moving. But I mean, the fact that with one glance on 80 boards, he can tell that I haven't made my move yet, that was pretty amazing to me. And I kind of stammered and stuttered, and he looked me right in the face and he said, "Are you going to take the bishop or not?" And I said, "Well, you sure stuck it out there unprotected." He said, "You take the bishop, I've got you in 3. You're a move behind." He made his round all the way around the table again. When he came back, he said, "Okay, you've taken the bishop. Do you want to see all 3 moves at once, or do you want to do them one at a time?" I said, "Well, I want to do them one at a time. Maybe I can figure out a way to counter whatever it is you've got in mind." He said, "No, I've got 5 ways to counter your 3 moves. When you took the bishop, you lost the game." This was a very interesting insight to me. What does a chess master do that an average chess player doesn't do? They think moves ahead. By the way, if you really study chess, you'll find that the greatest masters are almost always thinking at least, you ready for this, 7 moves ahead. So they're thinking, if I make this move, what could you do? And then if you do that, what could I do? Et cetera, out to 7 generations. Guess why they stay ahead of the curve? They also see patterns. They don't just play one move at a time and reactionary like an average chess player does. They see patterns developing that allow certain opportunities or present certain dangers, and they react to those as they go. Now, here's where you parallel this story back into your challenge. What does a great safety performer do that an average safety performer probably doesn't do? They think steps ahead. They see patterns developing and they react to those patterns. They say, you know, if I get into that situation at this time of day with that tool and equipment, I can see danger developing over there. I'm going to back up and take a different path and go a different way into this. Now, if you think about this, it may require a little bit of pre-work, and that is you need to get people thinking that an accident isn't a sudden event. An accident is something that happens in a chain of events. I challenged this kind of thinking to a man in a class I had one time, and he told me this story. He said, well, Terry, I was sitting at a red light. The light turned green. I pulled out into the intersection. I looked sideways, and there's a truck coming at me at 50 miles an hour. How can I prevent being hit by this truck? The point is, he couldn't. It was too late. And so he tends to view this accident as unpreventable. But almost everyone in the class almost instantly looked at him and said, what if you looked before you pulled out into the intersection? Now, what are they starting to do? They're starting to think a move ahead. They're starting to think, before I pull out into an intersection, what could happen and how do I prevent it? What do I do? Now, as they get better and better at this, they start thinking more and more moves ahead, or thinking more accurately 1 or 2 moves ahead, and they start avoiding situations that can turn into accidents. So here's what I'm suggesting to you. If you have a statement that says all accidents are preventable and your workers don't agree with this, get them together in small groups or have a meeting or write this up as a story, present it as a video, whatever, share this podcast with them. And get them thinking, if you think all accidents are not preventable, you are probably thinking down the causal chain at the point of the accident. Yes, all accidents pass a point beyond which they are no longer preventable. But the further you think upstream, the more prevention opportunities present themselves. The more you can see the pattern developing, the more you can see a move or two ahead, the better the chances of preventing the accident. Now, preventable doesn't mean prevented. Just because it could have been prevented doesn't mean that we saw it coming and we did it, but if we get better at it, we could. And that's where you want your workers thinking before you move forward from a mission, vision, or value statement that says all accidents are preventable. You've got to give them not just that goal that we want to prevent all accidents, but the strategy for doing it. And what is the strategy? Early detection, early prevention. If you talk to your doctor about how you keep from dying of cancer, he'll say the sooner we catch it, the better chance we have of curing it. The same thing's true in accidents. The sooner you see it coming, the more prevention opportunities you're going to have. Now, think about why this is a very good explanation of this. Are you saying all accidents are preventable or all accidents are not? You're straddling the fence, but you're doing it in a very realistic way. All accidents are preventable up to a certain point. Beyond that point, they are no longer preventable. So our goal isn't to let it almost happen and somehow miraculously get rescued. Our goal is to see it coming and take steps to keep it from fully developing. I hope this is something that helps you to accomplish some of the goals that you have in your safety program. And thanks for joining us here today. As always with these podcasts, if you have ideas for subjects, for topics, for things that you'd like for either Shawn or I or both of us to discuss, please send those to us. They always go to the top of the stack. They always get in the next batch of recordings. Thanks for joining us. Best of wishes for your safety program, and hope to see you again soon.